This holiday, deck their countertops with peppermint white chocolate mochas, gingerbread lattes, and pumpkin cream cold brews. Ninja Luxe Cafe is the ultimate gift. It's the #1 best-selling espresso machine in the U.S., perfect for the coffee lovers in your life. If they can dream it, they can brew it. No skills needed. Espresso balanced. Drip coffee rich. Cold brew in a flash. Hands-free silky microfoam. Dairy or plant-based milks. Bring joy into their holiday and every day after with Ninja Luxe Cafe. Shop now.
Time. It's always vanishing. The commute, the errands, the work functions, the meetings, selling your car. Unless you sell your car with Carvana. Get a real offer in minutes. Get it picked up from your door. Get paid on the spot. So fast you'll wonder what the catch is. There isn't one. We just respect you and your time. Oh, you're still here? Move along now. Enjoy your day. Sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply. This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into another edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jake Milham, joined today by the illustrious Jeremy Hokius Greco. Jeremy, welcome to the end of the week. I certainly feel like it needs to be the end of the week.
It does. Jacob, next week is Thanksgiving.
Yes, that it is.
We should probably talk about how we're going to handle the podcast around Thanksgiving, huh? Maybe not while we're on air, but we should probably do that.
Well, we probably should. I imagine, we would each have a plate of food and we would just do the podcast. I figured that's how it would go, right?
Well, there's also the Chiefs game.
That's right, man.
There's a lot going on next Thursday, buddy.
Yeah, that there is. Sorry, it's been a while since I've had to keep track of a Chiefs team without a winning record.
I was going to say that, I know they're not maybe going to the playoffs this year, but still a chance for me to hang out with my dad. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that just kind of encapsulates what the holiday is about as well, I would say.
Yeah, just tell that. Can you tell that to my mom? Because my mom is all like, why is there football on my Thanksgiving? I'm sorry, Mom. You don't sound like that.
If you don't
she's
get
an
it,
avid listener to the podcast, Jacob.
No, Jeremy. No,
she's only. I listened to half an episode once when she was in the car with me, and that is all of it that she's ever listened to. I'm pretty sure. So I think we're actually okay.
Gotcha. All right. Hey, I'm going to hit pause real quick. I have to take care of something. Hold on.
Okay, go take care of things.
I have to move dogs. Get up. No, you're doing something. Go.
Star trekking across the universe, only going forward because we can't find reverse. Star trekking across the universe on the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Thank you, Big Bang Theory. It's been a while.
It's not Big Bang Theory.
It's not?
That's from the 80s, my guy.
I thought that they had some sort of like Star Trek song that sounded like that ditty.
They might have had one, but I'm singing Star Trekkin', which was by the Firm,
John
from
Grisham
back
novel?
In 1987 on their album Serious Fun.
Oh my goodness. Yep, that is not my discography. I'm very sorry, Jeremy.
I specifically remember as a kid living in St. Louis, calling into Kids Radio, which was a radio station that they had, and we still listened to the radio back then, Jacob, because I'm old. I'm turning 40 next week, and I would call into Kids Radio and I would request Star Trekkin'. That was the thing I would do.
And would you get it?
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. That's all that matters.
And then we would record it on a cassette tape so that I could listen back to it later. Because we didn't have streaming back then.
Didn't have on demand back then.
No.
Yeah.
No
Different
Spotify,
times.
no YouTube.
No Napster.
The dark ages. No Napster. Not even Napster. Absolutely. No LimeWire.
All right. Alrighty, folks. So we do have a ton to talk about today. We got some transactions to talk about, plus some late breaking stuff announced by the Royals this afternoon. But before we do, you can keep on top of all of this if you go follow Royals Review on Twitter and on Facebook and Blue Sky. You can also just go and bookmark royalsreview.com and check out the website every single day for new content.
Here's what I recommend, Jacob,
Okay, let's hear it.
if you're a PC user, open a tab to royalsreview.com and then pin that tab so that it's always in your browser, okay? And if you're a phone user, okay, you can open up the website, and then I don't know how it works on Apple. Can't actually remember how it works on Android either. But there's an option for add to home screen or for download this as an app, and then you just have the button on your home screen, and you open it, you tap it, and boom, you're on the homepage. You're ready to go with Royals Review.
It's right there. When we have more Pop-Tarts, maybe we'll get our own app. Maybe that'll be the next Pop-Tart
I'm not holding my
investment
breath on that one.
I wouldn't.
But
so
yeah,
ways to go.
I'm gonna jump on your foot here, and I'm gonna say, let's talk about this transaction. We've got tomorrow. We've got the tender deadline or the non-tender deadline, depending on if you're an optimist or a pessimist. Half full, half empty. And the Royals, they've already answered the biggest question, I think, about the tender deadline of who are they going to tender. They tendered someone that I think there was a lot of people wondering, were they going to tender him? Were they not going to tender him? And they came to an agreement. Didn't just tender him. They've already got him signed up. It's James McArthur, the general. He'll be back in 2026. Will he be pitching in the big leagues? I don't know. I believe he has an option left. So that gives them some bullpen depth if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Which hopefully he's finally past all of the shenanigans that he had to endure last year.
Hopefully so, yeah, because last year was not a banner go around, and I know 2024 he had his issues, but still he had nearly 20 saves, he had some respectable outings, and yeah, it's always scary whenever you miss an entire season following an elbow surgery. But he got like a marginal raise above what MLB Trade Rumors projected he would get through arbitration. The Royals signed him to a contract for 2026 for $810,000, and that's not blowing the bank at all when the league minimum is $780,000. That's just how it is.
You would be paying someone less about the same amount of money, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is this is a sensible move. I understand that not seeing McArthur for a calendar year would have put him firmly on the roster bubble. But obviously the Royals believe that he will be ready to contribute in 2026. I don't think they would tender him if they believed otherwise.
Yeah, he's got one more option year, so that gives them some of that. That was a big thing. Remember that most of their relievers last year didn't have any options, so they couldn't. Jonathan Bolin was up and down and up and down. They burned every single up and down they had for him. And so having somebody like McArthur to potentially move up and down, he's not going to be the closer, not with Urseg and Estevez around, unless they both get hurt, and then maybe we're talking about it. But yeah, I'm just looking at these numbers again, Jacob, and yeah, the numbers weren't necessarily pretty in 2024 overall, but he had the 4.92 ERA, but a 3.46 Sierra. And the year before that, a 4.63 ERA, but a 2.65 Sierra, a 14.2 K minus BB, which is not bad.
Yeah.
He's really good walk rate of 2.22 in 24. In 23, his walk rate was 0.77.
That's insane.
And
That's insane.
Yeah, per 9. Less than one batter walked per 9. A 23.3% K minus BB, which was very good. It's a small sample size. But there's a lot of people are sleeping, I think, on how much potential James McArthur has. If this was a guy who you had seen pitch for another team, if the Royals were bringing him from the Cincinnati Reds, everyone would be like, the numbers aren't there, but they're not paying him anything, and he's got a lot of potential. That's what everyone would be saying. So that's what I'm saying now, is that the numbers weren't there, but there's a heck of a lot of potential in that arm. And the Royals need some swing and miss. He offers a little bit of swing and miss, more than they've got. I mean, he's He's not a 10, certainly not a 15K per nine like you might really wish for, or even a 12K per nine. But he was striking out a batter per inning in his first season with the Royals, first half season, I guess, really.
Yeah.
And so you hope that's in there somewhere. You hope that if he's healthy, you can continue to refine that some more, because he's got good stuff. You just
Mhm.
got to find a way to get those whiffs, and I think they'll continue working on that. Hopefully, they'll find it, unless Zach Bove was the whole thing all along, and then we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're still keeping an eye on the coaching search for who is going to replace Zach Bove in the Kansas City Royals organization. So we'll see what happens there. So I also feel like we'll get a solid look at MacArthur in spring training down in Arizona.
Sure.
We'll see what happens there. A couple of other pitchers that we'll see down in Arizona, Ben Kudrna and Steven Zobak joining the Royals 40-man roster on Tuesday, protecting them from the Rule 5 draft next month. Now, I don't think these two were a major surprise. Kudrna, the number 7 prospect in the Royals organization. Go ahead.
And they always felt like the two guarantees to me.
Yes, that they did. Just because they were, whether it be Kudrna's draft pedigree or Zobak's quick rise, it was like it made a lot of sense. Both these guys, they have their reasons for earning this spot. This was not like a full potential thing. These are both guys who do have a path to contributing in 2026. I just don't expect them breaking camp with the team.
Absolutely not. And if they do contribute in 2026, I would not be surprised if they do it as relievers.
Yes.
And then not because they'll be relievers necessarily long term, but just because, you go through a lot of relievers in a season, and hey, get a taste of the big leagues, and then maybe you're ready to start when Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo are ready to move on.
Right. That's I think that's the ultimate hope. And you know me, I do read between the lines when it comes to how Annie Rogers writes these news articles. And she mentioned that both for Zobak and Kudrna. And I know that, if I highly suggest that if you want a different perspective on Ben Kudrna, you go check out how Preston Farr views the pitcher, because how he views Kudrna is very different than like the whole prospect kind of evaluator system, I would say. And it's pretty gritty. And honestly, so far, it's kind of been the truth. So I don't want to spoil too much for you there. But as much as the news story was who did get selected, it was who did not get selected. We got 4 top 30 prospects who are left unprotected. So that's something we're going to be watching. Daniel Vasquez, Frank Mazzucato, Gavin Cross, and Javier Vaz. Cross and Mazzucato, 2 former first-round picks in a...
Don't forget Asa Lacy got left off, so that makes 3 straight first-round picks from 2020 to 2022 that got left off.
Yes. And I was like, this is a historic group of first-time Rule 5 draft eligible guys that were first rounders that got left unprotected. So this isn't just a Royals issue. This is like a baseball at large issue. Unfortunately, the Royals are the only team, I think, that have multiple representatives on said list, unfortunately.
I think I saw another team that had 2 first rounders get left off, but I don't know if they were top 10 first rounders.
Gotcha.
All 3 of those guys were top 10 for the Royals.
Yeah.
I zoned out for a second there. I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
I did not, so thank you for mentioning that. But that is the truth. And unfortunately, this is what we've talked about for about 2 years now in rebuilding this farm system. Like, there is going to be a huge gap in the talent that JJ Piccolo and his team's new processes can find and develop, and what Dayton Moore and the previous regime did leave behind. Cross is, I don't know. Obviously, the Royals did not believe too much in Cross's second half surge. He looked really, really good in Double-A in that second half. But at the end of the day, the Rule 5 draft is not just saying, hey, we want this guy on our team. Well, this is saying, okay, we believe that he could be on the big league roster for the rest of the season. So I doubt any of these guys get picked up, but it's still a notable way to view a prospect.
And if they do, there's every chance they come back. I remember one of the pitchers got grabbed last year. Can't remember his name.
Noah Murdoch. Yeah.
But he got sent back. And now he is a minor league free agent because Royals we're like, listen, we still don't see anything necessarily worth trying to keep you around for. So he's looking for somewhere to pitch. Hope he finds it. I hope he succeeds. But that's what you're looking at with the Rule 5 is like, maybe something's there, and it's just as likely that the guy's not even in professional ball the next year as it is that it's more likely that he's not in professional ball the next year than that he sticks with your team and actually contributes.
Exactly. And I will say, I think that there are talented members of this Rule 5 draft.
Sure.
Will the Royals take a flyer on them? We'll see. I haven't really agreed with the Matt Sauer pickup from 2024. I never really understood that. But here we are.
I was just going to say, he was a talented pickup. A lot of guys were very excited about that one. I don't super, you know me, I don't super follow the minor leagues, so I just followed along with what they were saying. But yeah, I mean, obviously your perspective is valid too, of like, if he was all that talented, he probably wouldn't have been left out.
Right. And that's... It's a tricky part. There are only so many roster spots to go around. Right now, the Royals 40-man roster sits at 39. There are still so many guys on the bubble. There are still so many guys to add to that roster, and we'll talk about some of those additions that were taken off the board here shortly.
I did want to mention that I was kind of like, the one guy I'm a little worried about is Daniel Vasquez.
You think
who
so?
Had a terrific Arizona Fall League. And I wonder if a team will look at him and think, well, we can just stash him on our bench as the 26th man defensive replacement. And hopefully that doesn't destroy his development, and then we'll control him for whenever he does break out.
Yeah.
That I'm a little concerned about, but again, not super concerned about, because it's really hard to keep a guy like that on your 26-man roster all year long.
It absolutely is. You know, this is, if you wanted to take a step down from Nicky Lopez, I think that's what you'd be getting in Daniel Vasquez. If you selected him and added him to the big league roster, Vasquez can play a great shortstop, but the bat just is not there.
And Nicky Lopez keeps getting signed to deals. I don't know if he's got one right now, but he kept getting signed to deals last year, but he also kept getting let go.
Yes.
And if you let Vasquez go, then you got to send him back to Kansas City if they want him. I assume Kansas City would want him. They saw something in him. He's shown flashes.
Yeah, that he has. So we'll see if he can carry over that Arizona momentum.
This is Kevin Harlan, and tonight, the NBA on Prime crew and I are back with another exciting Emirates NBA Cup doubleheader. The night starts with Pascal Siakam and the Indiana Pacers meeting Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers in a battle of familiar foes. Then it's off to Texas as Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets take on Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets for the first time this season. It all comes your way on Prime. And if you're not a Prime member, that's not a problem. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to get started today. The Pacers and Cavs, the Nuggets and Rockets. Coverage starts tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Into the 2026 season, I certainly hope he can. But before we talk about the free agency and the trade stuff going on, just a huge congratulations to Bobby Witt Jr. on receiving the Heart and Hustle Award. Jeremy, I saw this. I want to make sure I'm seeing this right. Second year in a row. Got it on the league-wide, and fourth year as the Royals nominee, right?
Correct. That is what I saw in the press release from the Royals. He is the only player to ever win it twice, other than Craig Biggio. I don't think it's been around that long, but still, it's at least moderately impressive. I will say that reading through the description of the Heart and Hustle Award, it's basically an award for a guy who plays the game the right way, whatever that means to whoever's voting. So I like, hey, you won the award. Good for you. Better to win awards than not most of the time, I think, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the award is like the most awful person, you don't want to win that award. Maybe you don't want to win Razzies or whatever, but yeah. So it's better to win this award than not. But also, of all the hardware he's bringing home this offseason, I don't think that's the one that's going to be like, this is the award that I put in the centerpiece of my trophy shelf.
Well, you're saying it's better to win awards than not win awards. I will say, congratulations to Vinny Pasquantino on being a runner-up in something, Jeremy. A very prestigious award. So here with
Vinny was the Royals runner-up because every team gets one nominee.
No. He was the runner-up for the Big Guy, Big Brain Bunt Award.
Please explain this award to me, Jacob.
So there's a sports content creator that I like to follow called Indergard on YouTube. And every year they have a bunt awards for, best bunter, things like that. He has a category called Big Guy, Big Brain. It was like basically a slow batter who had the best bunt of the year. And Vinny Pasquantino was a runner-up in that. So
I need you to send me, I assume there's a video clip. I want to see that.
Oh, there is.
Send me the link.
I will.
Did Kyle Isbell win? He's such a good bunter. Did he get anything on there? No.
He did not. He did not, believe it or not. The models just don't like him as a bunter, I guess.
Weird.
It's a very odd time to be alive. But moving on to actual things that kind of shifted how the Royals are going to approach this upcoming offseason. Do you want to talk about the guys who were moved or the guys who aren't moving?
Let's real quick mention the guys who aren't moving. So for a record, at least as far as Max Reaper can tell, our Royals review editor, 4 people signed their qualifying offers this offseason. Shota Imanaga, who hilariously, this whole shit. Have you followed this in Chicago,
Yes,
Jacob?
this is
So
a mess.
The Cubs declined their club option on him. Then he declined the player option that declining the club option gave him. And then the Cubs gave him a qualifying offer.
Yep.
So the Cubs didn't want to pay him for the multiple years that would have been there if they'd picked up the club option, because it was a multi-year club option. But they did want to. They didn't want to lose him entirely, and he didn't want to play for whatever the player option was. I forget. I think that was a 1-year deal, but I don't remember what all was involved there. But hey, if he's got the qualifying offer, it makes a lot more sense to take that $20 million. I don't remember the 4th person. Oh, it was Brandon Woodruff of the Brewers signed. But then more interestingly for the Royals, you know me, I love to bury the lead. Gleyber Torres is going back to Detroit, and Trent Grisham is going back to New York. I know we had talked about Trent Grisham, and then there were some people saying that he wasn't going to sign that. I'm really glad he did, because I don't know what kind of deal he would have got if he hadn't. It would not have been as good a deal. It probably still would have been a 1-year deal, but it probably would have been for a lot less money.
Yeah.
So good for him going back there, but those guys are now off the board. The Royals cannot, I guess the Royals could trade for them, but that seems unlikely.
Yeah. There's no advantage to trading for a guy on a qualifying offer, right? Like, you're still going to be on the hook for a really bloated 1-year salary.
Especially for those 2 guys. That was the weird thing about, I assumed neither of them would get the qualifying offer because they're not really 20 AAV guys. But when you're the Tigers or you're the Yankees, then it makes more sense to pay those guys 1 year $20 million than to lock yourself into somebody else for however many years.
So here's my theory to this, and
All right, give me the big brain take.
I wouldn't go quite that far, Jeremy, but I appreciate that. And I think this bit the Cubs the worst, and it's the most egg on their face, because you can squint and see that Grisham and Torres were going to get 20 AAV, like short-term deals somewhere, right? So you get that for 1 year, right?
The estimate for Torres, I remember, was something like 15, 16, 17 over 3 years.
Right. So it's the whole, what's the scale when you get to a 1-year deal? So it's not that big of a deal. But I think this is teams getting overly aggressive with the qualifying offer, because historically guys don't really pick up the qualifying offer because they know that they exceed that benchmark on an annual deal somewhere. But what's the advantage of placing the qualifying offer on a guy? Well, you get high draft compensation.
First round.
Yeah. So it's absolutely worth taking the chance. Like, I think this past draft, the Orioles gained at least two draft picks just by doing this measure, the qualifying offer, and then also the competitive balance pick. They were back to back. So, but now you don't get either of that. You just get stuck, quote unquote, stuck with a guy for another year. Now, I'm sure these teams would not have levied the qualifying offer if they weren't at least interested in bringing him back. It's just not a team friendly deal. That's all it is.
At this point, the players have also figured out that if they have a qualifying offer on them, they're not going to get the offers that they want in free agency.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So, smart move by all 4 of those guys to sign those deals, I think.
Yeah.
And then, the good news is that at least the way stuff is written up right now, we'll see how the next CBA does things. They can only do that once, so those guys will try again next offseason and hopefully get the multi-year deals they're looking for.
So if you're wondering if you can't see what the Royals ramifications are, here are the two big things that come to mind. Number one, the top batting second baseman, the younger of the options, and Torres off the table. That was the guy that I think many teams could go out and viably see, let's give him a 5-year contract and let it ride and see what happens. Now, how is this going to affect Jorge Polanco's market? I think you're going to have to get a lot more bullish, a lot more aggressive if you want to bring Polanco to your team in 2026. I know that was a lot of Royals fans out there were thinking that was the savvy move, right? Like that was the, not a whole lot of folks are talking about Polanco. Well, Jeremy's been talking about Polanco for quite some time now. So
I was talking about Polanco last offseason.
Sure, exactly. Come on now. You got to listen to the podcast more, huh? So
I'm a big Polanco fan.
You are a big Jorge Polanco fan, and I can see why.
I'm glad you said Jorge Polanco because I kept saying in my head Placido Polanco, which is a completely different Polanco.
Very different Polanco. And then for Grisham, that doesn't take the top outfield option off the board, but in a sense that takes one of the upper options that was within the Royals range off
if
the
you
board.
Remember my grading, my free agent, he was the only he was the only A-tier guy.
Right.
The only guy that was like, he's not going to cost you what a S-tier guy is going to cost you, but he's going to give you good enough value that he's worth signing.
Yes.
All on his own. He was the only one. So he's out.
Yeah. And holy smokes, man. New York Yankees fans were mad. They were pissed that Grisham was back on a qualifying offer.
Yankees fans should be, the old thing about kids should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Yankees fans should be not seen and not heard. They're worth nothing to me. They have no perspective on reality. You talk about like first world problems and you don't understand, like my banana is a little spotty and you're like, oh, but I can't even afford a banana. What are you talking about? That kind of like that's Yankees fans of like Trent Grisham came back. You hit 30 some odd home runs for us last year. Ooh.
Math can be hard. And trust me, I'm learning R right now. I know that math can be hard. All right. So moving on to another outfielder who was heavily linked to the Royals or heavily mocked to the Royals, I would say. Taylor Ward of the Los Angeles Angels. He is not out on the West Coast anymore. He is moving to the East Coast, joining the Baltimore Orioles.
Flew right over Kansas City.
Really did. He did not even a stop, not even a layover, just right there. The Orioles are sending former top prospect Grayson Rodriguez back to the Angels in the deal, which this is one of those things. The Orioles have a major weakness. They went very aggressive, I think, using a high potential guy.
What was their weakness, Jacob?
It was
because last I heard, their weakness was starting pitching.
Well, but Rodriguez wasn't helping with starting pitching anymore because he was injured.
Okay, so Grayson Rodriguez isn't helping with starting pitching. So why did the Angels trade for him?
I don't know. That's the thing.
So this was my take on social media was this is somehow a trade that feels like an overpay by the Orioles and an underwhelming return for the Angels. It makes little sense for both sides as far as I can tell. The Orioles already have an aging outfielder who hits home runs in Tyler O'Neill. They decided to trade away Ramon Laureano and Ryan O'Hearn. Laureano could have been they traded him away. He would have still been under contract with the Orioles this year. They've got Heston Kjerstad and some other guys coming up through the minor leagues. There's at least one other outfielder who I'm blanking on.
Beavers.
Cowser.
Who? Beavers
too.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of outfielders who need Taylor Ward. You need 1 year of Taylor Ward, who hit a lot of home runs this past year, but didn't walk that much. And would I have liked to add him to the Kansas City Royals lineup? Yeah. Would I have liked to? And I tried so hard to mock him to the Royals last offseason.
Yeah.
But the current iteration of Ward is not the savior for the Kansas City Royals lineup, I don't think. I think he's a fine addition, but he's more Salvador Perez part 2, where he doesn't have an OBP, but he hits home runs, than he is the guy that the Royals need, which is something a little bit more all around.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
meanwhile, Grayson Rodriguez, like you said, he was once a top 10 overall prospect. He's shown some real flashes when he's pitched, but he hasn't pitched in the big leagues in a year and a half.
Yeah. It's been a while.
And you have to wonder, will the stuff still be there when he shows up? When the Royals went and he looks a lot more like what's his face that they got from Atlanta. They just let go because
Kyle Wright.
Kyle Wright, where, oh my gosh, Kyle Wright looked so good. He didn't pitch for 2 years. When he did pitch again, he didn't look like Kyle Wright from 2 years ago. But the Royals only gave up Jackson Kowar for him, who was somebody they didn't want on their roster anymore anyway. And they also got Nick Anderson, who looked like a serviceable reliever. That didn't work out. Like, the Royals they got Kyle Wright and Nick Anderson for somebody they wanted off the roster.
Yeah.
And whereas the Angels traded Taylor Ward, who seemed like he probably had a lot of value in the trade market, considering how many teams I read are looking for a power outfield bat.
Yeah.
And got a pitcher who may never pitch for them. Although maybe he's healthy now. Maybe it looks really good for the Angels, but you are taking a huge risk.
So according to the Angels, Rodriguez is already in bullpen sessions and is, quote, expected to be ready for the start of spring training. That's according to the general manager. Now, here is
the same general manager who isn't aware of air conditioning.
The same guy.
Okay.
Same guy.
Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about who Perry Manasian, is that his name? Am I remembering that correctly?
I was trying not to say his name because I don't know how to say his last name, Jeremy.
Well, I'm going to go with Manasian, that guy. Perry. Platypus guy.
Perry the platypus. So here's where I'm at with this. I unfortunately think that this was a move with a lot of optics around it because the Angels probably could have gotten a guy or gotten a package of prospects that would have helped their team more than Grayson Rodriguez. But where is that franchise at right now? Where are the Angels at right now?
The Angels are the Bermuda Triangle, okay?
Correct. Exactly. So this is a perfect move for them. You either have a guy who is going to be your ace starter in 2026, or he's not going to do anything for the next 3 years. Like that's perfect. That's perfect Bermuda Triangle material in my mind.
Okay. I mean, does the trade make sense in terms of what we know about these two franchises? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. These are trades that the Orioles and the Angels make all day, every day.
Yep.
But does the trade make sense from a baseball perspective? I don't think so. So if for a little Royals analysis, because I guess this is a Royals podcast.
It is.
That it's somewhere between a Chris Bubich and a Noah Cameron in terms of trade. And I wouldn't trade either of them for Taylor Ward straight up.
1 year of Taylor Ward. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And it was Rainey Jazierli on Kaufman Corner earlier this week who made the really excellent point that I hadn't considered, that Chris Bubich has 1 year of control, but you are probably going to give him a qualifying offer. So he's 1 year of control. He's 1 to 2 years of control. And if it's only one, he's a first round draft pick.
Correct. So I think that's a lot let me start over. I think a lot of Royals fans are getting to that point, especially after we had a report this week from ESPN's Jeff Passan that the offers are a little too light on Bubich for the Royals to bite at this point. We still have months ahead in the offseason. We still have so much baseball transactional news ahead of us. But right now, that's how it looks.
The thing about Chris Bubich is, teams aren't going to pay for him because he was hurt. They don't know if he's going to be healthy.
Yeah.
And if he is healthy, then the Royals have a lot of really good options with him next year. If they're competitive, he is probably their second best starter.
Yeah.
If they're not competitive, which fingers crossed, we don't have to worry about this, and he's healthy, he is an amazing trade chip at the deadline. Everything you thought about Seth Lugo is 10 times better with Chris Bubich.
I agree.
Because Seth Lugo came with, if he's hurt, I also have to pay him $15 million next year.
Yeah.
Chris Bubich doesn't come with that. He doesn't come with the age. He comes with pitching better than Seth Lugo, honestly. So, Chris Bubich has a lot to offer the Kansas City Royals, and they should not trade him just to trade him. If they're going to trade him, they've got to get someone to pay for him as if he is a very fungible asset. There's a big word for you.
That's a big word, Felmo. So moving on, I did want to answer a question that we got on social media before we talk about Vinny and Naylor.
Wait,
we're already. Did you read
fungible
up the
is not
question?
what I wanted to say there. That's the wrong word.
Oh man,
people misuse that word, I guess, because that's the context I'd heard it in. It just means fungible means. Let me look it up here again. Replaceable by another identical item, mutually interchangeable.
Oops.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I meant like he's very valuable. This is what happens when you try and use big words. Sometimes you do a malapropism, which is a big word I know I'm using correctly.
Like, hold on, Jeremy. Do we not just learn?
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Lesson?
That comes from musical theater, so I know that one.
Gotcha. Yep, that's burned into your brain.
Yeah.
So I did want to address this question from
Twitter
here.
Questions.
Yes.
People talking to us.
I know, right?
Jacob, we've been perceived.
Take a breath, Jeremy. Take a breath. Breathe. We're only the second most listened to Royals podcast. We don't know what to do here. All right, so Matt Vernon on Twitter asked, since the pitching side of free agency is deeper than hitting, would it be better to make 2 big trades for bats and then spend the rest of their money on a free agent pitcher or 2 to keep their depth while getting better?
Yeah, I mean, if that works, sure. Everyone keeps telling me Michael Lorenzen's not coming back. He's not coming back. He's not, and I'm like, but if you trade away Bubic or Lorenzen, he could be some, like when you traded Brady Singer away, you had starting pitcher depth, but also you still need depth.
Yeah.
And if the Royals review article, excellent article by Brian Henry, the Royals don't have so much depth that they don't need to replenish it at all. We even talked about that last podcast. So if they trade away one starter, then it might make sense to bring in another one. Especially he proposed Zach Gallen on a prove it deal. I would be open. Hey, Zach, would you like to work with a couple of the pitching coaches who have been behind some really amazing comebacks, including Aroldis Chapman, Cole Reagans, Chris Bubic, Seth Lugo improved here, Michael Wacha rebounded here, James MacArthur became someone here.
It's a pretty good track record.
There's a good track record here. This is, if I'm a guy like a Zach Gallen who's been good before and would like to be good again, this is a staff I'd like to work with. So yeah, if the opportunities are out there to trade Bubic and Cameron and fill in the lineup with a couple bats and then bring in a Zach Gallen or maybe a Zach Gallen and someone else on some prove it deals that obviously in concert with talking to the pitching coaches about, do you think you can help this guy?
Yes, exactly.
Then yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a bad way to handle things at all. I also don't mind if they just go ahead and fork out the money for Bellinger or Polanco and call it a day.
Right. I think when you get into, like, not to disparage Matt's way of thinking here, because I do think that there is a viable end result that makes sense for the Royals, the process gets complicated when you look at something like that, because then you're not only banking on the pitching free agent market going your way, but you're also banking on the trade market going your way.
You end up potentially, likely, not necessarily if they do it right, it doesn't have to work out, but you end up in a situation where you make a deal hoping you're going to make the next deal, and oops, does that next deal happen?
And this is, we've all seen Moneyball here. I hope if you haven't watched the dang movie, go watch the dang movie. It's a long off season.
Tell him, Wash.
No, tell him, Rusty. But that I will say that portrayed a certain way of how trades can be done to leverage what you want, and it gets complicated, and you need to know every single button to push to make it work. And if it doesn't work, yes,
they were doing a lot of praying. They were like, "Oh boy, we have a plan, but everything has to fall the way we expect it to."
Correct.
Did we expect correctly, or at least close enough to correctly?
Right. And at the end of the day, do the Royals have enough of a margin of error to pull that off? I don't know. I don't think they do personally.
If it was David Glass who was the owner, I would say no, absolutely not. Because
Okay.
this is the guy who says the superstar wants to re-sign, make it
1 million.
take 1 million less. But John Sherman has shown a willingness to spend a little bit extra when an opportunity arises. So I think if you get in a scenario where you trade away Chris Bubich and Noah Cameron, and you've got Zach Gallen, but he wants $1 or $2 more million, John Sherman will okay that.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that it's more plausible with John Sherman. It was a 0% chance of working with a David Glass. It's a 30% chance of working with a John Sherman, 40 maybe. I might even give you 50. Really do think that he has got two things on his brain right now, at least, that make him willing to spend the money and spend a little bit more money. And that's keeping Bobby Witt Jr. in Kansas City and getting a new stadium deal. Before to do those things, he's going to have to spend, at least until the farm system catches up. And I think he's shown an understanding of that.
I think so. Man, I really hope that this is a year the Royals are very aggressive on minor league free agents. There's a whole level of value found in that. And, unfortunately, the Royals had to lean on a few minor league free agents in 2025 that did not go their way. But I would rather that happen with a free agent that you brought in for the year rather than compromising the development of a prospect, I would say.
I would argue they've already been a little aggressive with a Mason Black and the outfielder from Tampa Bay.
Cameron
Meisner. Yeah, I mean, they're not free agents, but they almost were. And the Royals said, you know what? Rather than be aggressive for free agents, let's be aggressive so that they don't become free agents.
Yes. Yep. And both those guys, I expect both those guys to start off the season in AAA Omaha.
But I also think I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the big leagues at some point this year.
Yep. Agreed.
And they both bring some upside, like you're talking about, with the potential of a minor league free agent.
Yes.
So I think you're absolutely right, is what I'm trying to say, is that the Royals should be aggressive in that area, and I think they are to this point. They could do a few more for sure, though.
Yes, that they could. So, Matt, thank you for the question. If you guys ever have questions for us, there are plenty of outlets to reach out to us on. Yeah, Blue Sky, Twitter, my emails.
Let us talk. And I love to talk. I don't know if you could tell that I love to talk because I've interrupted Jacob like 6 times in the last 5 seconds.
Well, you see here, Jeremy. Oh wait, I was expecting you to interrupt.
No, I was putting my mic on mute. I was like, I gotta stop. I can't keep doing this. But self-control.
There are plenty
of ways.
I don't
have any.
Take it, Jeremy. There are plenty of ways to reach out to us. All the links are down in the podcast description below. Jeremy, this feels like old news at this point, but it's really not. The first big free agent or first big new contract of this offseason. Josh Naylor.
Were free agents.
They were.
2.
Sorry. Yes.
Raisel Iglesias got signed. We're not going to talk about that. We don't care. But yeah, they were free agents, both of them.
They were. Primarily, I'm looking at Josh Naylor going back to the Seattle Mariners, who he was traded for at the trade deadline, hit a new gear while the Mariners were just finding their groove heading into the postseason. But how does this affect the Royals? Well, this is something that you brought up because they're about the same age. They're very similar production.
Offensively, at least.
Offensively, yes. This is a very interesting comp for the Royals' Vinny Pasquantino. Jeremy, why did this pique your interest from that angle?
So Josh Naylor got 5 years, $92.5 million, none deferred, which is interesting in the modern MLB. Because it's not just the Dodgers that defer. We already talked. The Royals got a lot of deferrals with Salvador Perez's deal. Good on them, honestly. Good on them. Good on Salvi for getting paid.
Yeah.
28 years old, first baseman, bat first. They like Josh Naylor's, the fan graphs at least like Josh Naylor's glove a little bit better, likes his base running a little bit better.
Yeah.
I didn't look at Baseball Reference because I'm lazy, I guess. You got the Baseball Reference numbers?
So I do. Baseball Reference has both of them as below average defensive value, but they do have Vinny at a more favorable D-WAR. They're very... Let's see here.
This is the thing about taking defense into account.
Yeah.
Is that there are no numbers that agree.
No, not a one. So here is something that I think is important to look at when you look at both their guys' careers. What's the win probability that they add? very similar win probability
Yeah.
across their careers.
Now, Josh Naylor has had he's a free agent because he's been in the big leagues for longer. Vinny still has 2 years of club control. Josh Naylor was a little bit more highly regarded prospect, but he took a little bit to break out. They're both pretty similar in terms of offensive value. They get there a little bit differently. Josh Naylor I don't remember if he hits a little bit more higher average or if he gets a little bit more OB. Vinny has a little bit more power. Obviously, Josh Naylor figured out how to steal bases, do the fat man stolen base last year, which I pioneered that as a 16-year-old. So I'm a little like, come on, man. But yeah, so they're very similar in a lot of ways. Would you or would I give Vinny Pasquantino a 5-year, $92.5 million and call it a done deal? No. There's a couple of reasons. The biggest one is that Vinny doesn't have the negotiating position that Josh has. Gosh, my name part of my brain, and now the talking part of my brain shut down.
Boy, get back to it.
Rebooting.
You can do it.
So that's the biggest reason you don't give $592.5. If Vinny was a free agent, I think you'd be talking about it. You might bring it back down to 580, 585, but you'd be close. You're not bringing it to 570 if you're trying to keep Vinny. And I think Vinny is important to keep in Kansas City.
I think he is too.
So let me talk real quick about why. And I feel like I say that and then you hear, don't interrupt me, Jacob, after I've interrupted you a million times. And I'm just, that was my vocal tick for trying to get to my next thought.
Yeah.
So Vinny obviously brings something with his bat. He brings less of an ability to take a walk than we saw before, but hopefully that will maybe come back a little bit with the new hitting coaches.
Yeah.
He shows an ability to drive in runs. We talked about, RBIs are a factor of opportunity as much as anything else, but I did the math last year, and he takes advantage of opportunities at a higher level than other people. If you get more than 100 RBIs by my math work, which, you could question my math. You can say you were a musical theater major, and I'll tell you I was also a computer science major. Take that. I could do math sometimes.
Every now and then.
But yeah, what was that?
I said every now and then.
Yeah. So by my math, if you get over 100 RBIs, you are someone who takes more advantage of opportunities than other guys.
Yeah.
It's a combination of having more opportunities and taking better advantage of the opportunities that you get. You have to have both to get over 100 RBIs. So Vinny is a proven guy to drive in runs.
Yes, that he is.
What Vinny gives you is maybe not as high a ceiling, certainly not as high a ceiling as a Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but he gives you a certain floor. David Lesky was running through the numbers on his newsletter Inside the Crown, which I still highly recommend you all read. And Vinny was coming in the middle a lot for first baseman. And it's like, well, do you want to give somebody who's in the middle all that money? And my answer is, well, yeah, because that's a floor. That's a floor that set it and forget it. Vinny's at first. He's not gonna carry the team, but he absolutely will not sink the team.
Yes, that too.
And I think he's such a smart hitter that I'm also less concerned about how he'll age, because he puts, the guy lives where he lives specifically to work with his hitting coaches, right? He cares that much. We've seen him talk about, my hitting, my swing speed went up and it changed my timing, and I need to get all this fixed. He's a very smart guy. This is why I loved Chris Bubich as a pitcher. When you're that smart, I trust you to eventually figure it out. If you're that smart and you've got the talent. And he's shown us he's got the talent. 30 homers, 100 RBIs didn't come from nowhere. 800 OPS basically didn't come from nowhere. He's got the talent. He's smart. I trust him to continue being good into at least his early 30s. I've also seen him drastically improve his defensive abilities. This is a guy that works hard, and he works hard in a way. You can talk about a gym rat. You can talk about a guy who's first in, last out, and that's great, but show me the results. Vinny shows you the results to the hard work also.
Mm-hmm. That he does.
And finally, the one thing that is hard to quantify is clubhouse presence. That's the one thing that is really hard for, there's lots of things. Obviously, defense is hard for us to quantify.
Obviously, yeah.
But it's hard. Clubhouse presence is hard to quantify, and it can sometimes be ignored because it's so hard to quantify. But in Vinny's case, the clubhouse presence is so apparent that you can't dismiss its value. He's the guy who shows up and talks.
Yeah.
whether you're winning, whether you're losing, he's there for you. You need a quote. You need someone to support you. He's there for the whole team. And I know I just said finally, and finally, Bobby loves him.
Yes,
Bobby
Bobby
loves
does love
him.
him.
You want Bobby happy? Make his friends happy when you can. And I think that signing Vinny to an extension, though it might not make raw baseball sense, I think makes a ton of sense in terms of that floor, in terms of that clubhouse presence, in terms of keeping your superstar happy. So
And
92.5 I don't do, but I absolutely would give him a 5-year extension, set it and forget it.
Yeah. And this is, just to clarify, this is the first year of arbitration for Vinny Pasquantino. So the
So he's
Royals
got
have
3 years of control.
three more years of control.
My bad.
So no, it's fine, because I think that if we're looking at an extension, it's not going to be an extension that's signed ahead of the final year of his career under Kansas City control. This is going to be something where the Royals are looking to buy out an arbitration year or two and tack on a couple of free agent years in there.
And that changes the math, because Josh Naylor is being compared to all free agents, right?
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
well, what could I get if I go out there? And Vinny, it's okay, well, you're only going to get this much this year. You're only going to get this much this year because you only have, what you have through arbitration. And so we'll give you some certainty where you know that you have a bad year. We're not going to just say non-tender, good luck.
Yeah.
But you also have to give up some potential earning value. And that's part of the give back and forth compromise negotiation.
It is. And that payroll certainty is something that I can't remember if it was Sherman or Piccolo, but I remember one of them talked about it as the season was wrapping up. When you looked at Cole Reagans, that's what they did with Cole Reagans. Certainly coming off that 2024 season, he had a immense earning potential. But if he had to sign a deal like that for 2025, what deal would he have got? So it's all about consistency. It's all about clarity, and we'll see what the Royals do with Pasquantino here. I do imagine that they get a deal done within the next calendar year, but for how long that looks like, we don't know. But for right now, well, also, I have to make this point. I think that the human factors that you talked about are one reason why Royals fans scoffed at Boston Red Sox fans saying, Vinny for Jared. Like, I think that's one reason why we were incredulous of that,
That would were Red Sox fans proposing that trade?
Yes.
That's a terrible trade for the Red Sox. I love Vinny. That's a terrible trade for the Red Sox.
So Jared Carabas, who's a very notable, he's with Underdog. He does the podcast Baseball is Dead. I'm talking like he was having full back and forth with Vinny on social media, and even Vinny was joking about it earlier on this month. Quote, you click on 3 mentions and the entire algorithm changes to Boston. Way too much Patriots talk for me. Thanks a lot, Jared Carabas. Like, it is. And, they've had Vinny on their podcast before. They've had him on their watch party. So this is probably just poking some fun. But it seemed like a lot of Red Sox fans were latching on to this and saying, this is what we want. This is the way forward. And it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, I agree with you that it doesn't make sense, but it sounds like I disagree with you in how it doesn't make sense. Because again, Jarren Duran is such a superior value as a player that I think if the Red Sox proposed that trade, the Royals would have to do it. As extremely sad as I would be to see Vinny go, and it might blow up in your face, losing that clubhouse presence of Vinny, because I think he is the vocal leader in that clubhouse that I don't think Bobby is. I think that's one thing. Bobby's a leader, but by example, not by vocalness. And I think you need the vocal leader too.
Fair enough.
And if Jarren Duran is a clubhouse cancer, as has been implied by a couple of people on the internet, I don't know if that's true. But if it is true and you lose Vinny and add Duran, that could absolutely blow up in your face.
It could.
But I also think that unless you know that that's what will happen, that unless you've talked to some people as the GM and you're like, oh no, Jarren Duran will destroy our clubhouse culture, and we can't afford to lose of such a positive clubhouse guy for this negative clubhouse guy. The baseball talent doesn't overcome that difference. That would be the only reason you wouldn't make that trade as the Royals, I think.
Okay. This is, sorry, I got a couple of other questions.
And then you'd still need to find a first baseman because the Royals need to add bats, not just swap them.
Right. Hey, I did get 2 other questions here. I just want us to spend a minute on each. Just 1 minute. Nothing crazy.
I'll try.
On Reddit, got a question: Adolis Garcia to platoon
No.
/DH/right field on the cheap. I think that's a deal that on the cheap is for the prospect that you send back to Texas, but that is not cheap on the payroll. There's a reason why Texas is looking to move on from the former All-Star. He is very, very volatile. That is I don't know.
Hasn't been good for 2 years.
Yeah.
You're betting on a bounce back. The Royals are not in a position to bet on a bounce back right now.
They betted on a bounce back with Hunter Renfroe, and we saw how that went. I don't foresee that being the move. And then make a deal with Boston for Abreu that will probably hurt. ? Yes, that would absolutely hurt the Royals in ways.
And what was my proposed trade for Abreu?
Truth be told, I cannot remember here. I'm scrolling.
It's probably. I think it's probably the same deal I proposed. What happened, I remember now, BTV said Abreu's value was less, even though he has surplus value was less, even though he has 1 more year of control, and he's been close to as good offensively. He's not the base runner that Duran is, but he's also probably a better defender.
Yeah.
And so the answer is the trade that hurts to get Abreu is probably Cameron, Mitchell, and Serpa, or someone like Serpa.
Yeah.
And yeah, that hurts. But also, you probably do it.
Probably so.
For 4 years of Abreu.
I would do that deal.
Yeah, it hurts. It
does.
It hurts my soul. It hurts my head. Hurts my pinky for some reason.
Interesting. You might want to get that checked out, Jeremy.
Oh, okay.
All right. But hey, folks, like I said, plenty of ways to find us for questions. So please send them in when we solicit for them. I appreciate y'all reaching out before we recorded the podcast. But Jeremy, what do you say we get on with some reviews for today?
I reckon that's a plan that you have proposed that
yes.
I will accede to.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is more of a Christmas gift review than anything. So,
but it's not even December yet, Jacob.
It's
not even Black Friday yet, Jacob.
Jeremy, we have to plan out shopping. Okay, things are tight nowadays.
I did all my Christmas shopping in September.
See, exactly.
But I didn't give any of the presents to anybody.
No, this is a Christmas gift I got years ago. But I'm like,
okay.
Yeah. So my brother-in-law a couple years ago got me 2 watches, and there were 2 Timex watches, and they're still ticking. They're still working very well. I have 1 watch that's my everyday watch, but both of them, I understand Timex is not a name brand. It's not known. I
always get it confused with Rolex.
Yes, not Rolex.
I had a Timex watch I really liked. I can't stand having things on my wrist, so I stopped wearing it. But yeah,
gotcha. But I'm saying that to say, Timex watches have been very good to me. I put them through their paces, wearing them on the ship, wearing them every single day, things like that. I highly suggest that if someone asks for a watch, then at least look at this. It's not a cheap option, but it is more of a cost.
Yeah, they're a solid mid-tier.
Yeah, that's the way I would put it. So, all right, Jeremy, on to you.
Jacob, I am going to review Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
I finished playing the story of last week. I am almost done with the DLC, as I'll probably finish it this evening, actually. What a fantastic video game, Jacob. A game that I almost didn't play. Had no interest in. First of all, I confused it with Trek to Yomi, which I don't know if that's a good game or not, but didn't look good. But then Ghost of Yotei came out this year, a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, and it has Erika Ishii as its protagonist. She mocapped and voiced it. And, I love Erika Ishii, big time dropout person. And so I was like, all right, well, maybe I want to play Ghost of Yotei, but I have Ghost of Tsushima through the PS Plus plan that I have. So let me check that out and see if I can stand the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob, the gameplay of I stutter. What is this?
I don't know what happened there.
The Ghost of Tsushima. The gameplay is very Ubisoft formula, but polished and sanded down and smoothed out to such a degree that it is a joy just to walk across the island of Tsushima. It's a pleasure just to exist in the world. So many games put all their effort into gimmicks for the combat or the puzzles, and they forget the movement. I loved Final Fantasy 16. I gave it a glowing review here. I wrote multiple articles about it for Royals Review that no one read and no one ever will read, because why would you read an article about Final Fantasy 16 on Royals Review? But I wrote those. I love that game. The game was horrible to just walk. Just walking was a pain in the butt. And one of the things that stands out to me, it's one of the things that Assassin's Creed, which is the originator of the Ubisoft formula, has lost over time. They've added so many mechanics that they forgot to keep everything polished and smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the mini games of Ghost of Tsushima is you'll stumble across a fox den, and this fox will lead you for 10 to 60 seconds, usually closer to 10, across the landscape of Tsushima to an Inari shrine where you quickly reverence the shrine, you bow down to the shrine, and you get a reward. And that would have been pure agony in a later Assassin's Creed game. I haven't played them since Odyssey, but it would have been agony there. It would have been agony in Final Fantasy 16. It's a chance to just take in the scenery and just exist in the world for a moment in Ghost of Tsushima, which is absolutely a gorgeous game. Not just in terms of graphics, but in terms of cinematography, which is also something video games don't spend enough time on. Cinematography is just huge in, like, sure, 60 FPS, sure, high fidelity graphics, but you got to shoot them well from interesting angles, or else what's the point?
Yeah.
And Ghost of Tsushima recognizes that. And one of the things that really stands out to me is if you're running from point A to point B and you're like, boy, it's going to take me a little bit longer to get there than I want, which doesn't happen often because the points are pretty close together. There's tons of fast travel points and the fast travel is super quick. But if you're doing that and you're like, boy, this is going to take forever, I need my horse. In most games, you'd have to summon your horse and stop and wait for the horse to appear and run up to you, because gotta have the realism. In World of Warcraft, they solved this problem by you do the quick 1.5 second cast of summon your mount, and the mount just appears under you, you go.
Mm-hmm.
So that at least solves that problem, but you still have to wait a second and a half. In Ghost of Tsushima, they did a compromise where you whistle for your horse and your horse runs up, but if you're running, the horse keeps running with you until you mount the horse. So you don't have to stop and wait for the horse, because in other games, the horse will just run to wherever you were when you whistled for it. Now the horse is like, oh, you called for me. I'll keep running with you until you jump on, because I know that's what you wanted me to do. You didn't just want me to appear wherever it was you were when you started whistling. It's like, it's one of those things that's like, how has no one ever done this before? This is so smart, and it makes things so much better. It's so simple, but so much better. The combat gameplay is fun. The characters, the story is so beautiful. They stick the ending so hard, Jacob. I just want to. I keep thinking about writing about it on my blog. I haven't gotten there yet, but that's how impactful it was to me. And all the bright colors. You know me, I love talking about colors in movies and games because they're not prevalent enough. It's like, this is dark and gritty, therefore it shouldn't be colorful. No, it can be both. You can do both. You can use the color as a contrast. Shocking.
Crazy.
It's a gorgeous, beautiful game. It's not without its bugs. The bug that frustrated me the most was that the outfit I used the most, because you have multiple outfits that have different buffs. The outfit I used the most was the Traveler's outfit, and it comes with a little cape, which is gorgeous when it streams in the wind behind you, but often it clipped into your sword or your belt and it gets stuck. And that's a little bit of a bummer. Life goes on.
That it does.
Really, really, really fantastic game. I cannot recommend. If you like open world adventure games, I can't recommend this one enough. It's not flawless, but it's so good, and I can't believe it took me this long to play it. I don't know how it reviewed. I feel like it can't have reviewed as highly as it should for the fact that I didn't understand how good it was.
So, well, thank you for the review, Jeremy. That's a highly awarded game for a very good reason. I think you hit on a lot of those reasons.
People were saying good things about it. That's good.
Yeah.
Only
people are saying
an 83 Metascore. I mean, that's not a bad Metascore, but it's not as good as that game deserves.
Yeah, it deserves much better.
It's at least an 88. Come on now.
Come on now. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Royals Rundown podcast. We appreciate you joining us tonight. If you want to keep the conversation going, our social media links are down in the podcast description below. If you, for some reason, want to send out-of-pocket emails to me, you can do that too. My email is down in the podcast description below. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yep. but primarily follow and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening at so you don't miss another episode. We're here 2 times a week talking about the Royals all the freaking time. So make sure you subscribe or follow. I am Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you for being here. And until next time, go Royals.